All right, so the topic of my talk today is specifically operational analytics, although most of the things I say will equally apply to BI, business intelligence analytics. And I've been around data for, 15 years now in data storage, appliances, and storage as a service, data search, and more recently analytics. And analytics specifically is kind of a young field, and maybe I'm just saying that because I want to feel young, but it has not matured to the point where the processes we follow when building analytics applications and dashboards and visualizations are at the same level of structure and control as is common for other areas of software development. And we've seen this before in pretty much every field within software development. When you start out, everybody is doing little quick one-off jobs. Things are kind of done in different ways, nothing standard. There's N solutions to pick from. You kind of cobble together what works for you. And then the maturation happens over time, and certain solutions win out, are considered the way to go. You don't have to reinvent the wheel anymore. That has happened, for example, with infrastructure. We no longer configure machines one by one with little SSH scripts. There's Chef and Puppet and Docker, and that's kind of how you do it. It wouldn't occur to someone that to configure hosts, I should go to this UI and click some buttons, and then when I want a new host, I'll just do that all over again in some other custom way. But that seems to be what we do a lot with operational analytics, with dashboarding UI solutions, and with business analytics as well, for what it's worth. I think the future for analytics is that same movement toward handling code as code, because that's what it is. And this is what I'll talk about. There are some good things about having these ready UIs where you click and charts appear. It's easy to get started. It's easy to get started if you're not a coder, although that seems irrelevant to the field of operational analytics because people doing this are in fact coders. But sorry about that. It's easy to get pre-built charts from integrated monitoring solutions. So, for example, here is a Datadog dashboard for Elasticsearch. Well, they already figured out everything to monitor for Elasticsearch. Here's a bunch of charts, and I actually like Datadog, so I'll speak on that a bit later. Or here is a custom-built Cabana dashboard. Guess nothing much has happened for analysis for us lately, so there's not much data. It was easy to put together. That's the good stuff. However, you soon run into problems as you keep developing analytics logic, and you end up with millions of dashboards. This is just for one team kind of getting started, trying stuff out. There's over 100 charts. A newcomer to this would be like, well, what are the good charts? Well, I don't know. There are 7 versions of this chart with essentially the same name. Which one is the right one? Maybe the latest one, maybe not. I don't know. So solutions quickly grow to an unmaintainable size. If you need to make changes, it's tricky. For example, let's say you discovered that, well, somebody went with, say, Cabana's defaults, and all the charts show averages. Then somebody comes in and goes, hey, you shouldn't really be looking at averages. You should have peaks in your charts. You have 117 charts to update by hand, by clicking through the UIs. So that's unmaintainable. The solutions are very custom built. So here's my dashboard. If somebody says, hey, I want a dashboard just like yours, but for this other metric I'm tracking, that's pretty tricky to do, depending on what you're using for that. Chances are you'll be literally looking at the screen, clicking through to see how it was done, which particular buttons were clicked, and then clicking it the same way. There's no copying, there's no modifying. And the resulting solutions are not transparent. There's no way to review that it was done right. Chances are people won't even ask. They're shown a dashboard, there's a pretty chart. Chart goes to some threshold. you go, oh, well, we're nearing the threshold, we should raise capacity. It's not usually a question of, well, how did you do this? How did you get at this? You maybe get asked, what was the data feeding into this? You probably will not be asked for what was the specific logic, what statistics you used. It's implied that, well, you know your job, you did this right. We do not make the same assumption for coding. We have code reviews. We find bugs. We find bugs at review stage. That's a good thing. That's cheapest to fix. We find bugs at later stages, pretty expensive to fix. These bugs in your analytics, can affect a lot more than a bug that maybe turns away a few of your users. If you make a decision based on incorrect analytical report, you could be spending a whole lot of money in the wrong direction. So it would be good to get review for these things, but since they're hidden behind UIs, that will be hard to do. So there are different ways of doing this. We can, in fact, build analytical solutions based on code and make it transparent. And you could do the same with code as you can with the UI. You can make a quick and dirty solution. You can, in fact, make a slow and dirty solution. Having code in the picture is not a panacea, but it gives you an option for building quick and clean if you do it the right way. So that's what we're getting to. Specifically, what's operational analytics in the context of this talk? Well, we run a service. At Quid, we run a service that lets people analyze data, public news, company news, patent information. This is the result of my search for data, analytics, and code. And these are kind of the clusters of news articles that came out of this. And as I thought, there's no code in this. There's like Spark stuff, big data, Google Analytics, predictive analytics. Only like a 4% cluster of this is actually about embedded analytics, which is where we're getting very close to code. This would be code-based solutions. But by and large, the space is not about that, which is why I'm talking about it, because somebody has to. So when we run this service, there's a complex stack behind it with Spark and Kafka and Elasticsearch and a number of other things. We want to know that it's up and working fine. So in order to get there, we need anomaly detection, we need alerting. If there's a problem, we want to be able to debug with data in hand, with metrics and drilling down to logs. We want to know how is performance of various features, how is usage of features, so we want reports looking back at trends. We want to be able to do capacity planning, kind of forward-looking predictions. And we also want to know which features make sense to build, what are the users actually doing with this, so that's the business analytics aspect. And we have a pipeline for this data. There's a monitoring stage, we've stored the data, we analyze it, we visualize or alert on it. This is what it looks like for us right now. We have custom app logs and sort of metrics, not quite metrics, they're metrics, but incorporated in log lines as this JSON blobs. So that's going into Logstash and then into Elasticsearch, and for now, Cabana for visualizing for operational needs. And then the same data is forked off into an Aluma pipeline. They let you hang Python scripts that would enrich your data on the way, then get it stored in commonly Redshift, Amazon's cheapest storage tier that you can still query. And then the BI team is using Looker, which actually is code-based. You write SQL, and the dashboards are nicely SQL-backed. Well, Looker ML is a variant on SQL. And then we have host metrics and some service metrics, say for Elasticsearch, and those are currently being collected into New Relic, and so we end up with this completely disjoint views. So we would like to see that when a user action of, say, exporting to PowerPoint happens, this is what happens to network traffic and CPU utilization. We can't actually overlay these things because they're entirely distinct dashboards. That's one of the problems we're addressing with a rework of this pipeline. And this is just a little background on where the data could possibly be coming from. So logs and metrics at host, service, and application level. If you're doing this yourself, which we pretty much are, then your logs will probably go to Logstash and Elasticsearch. at which point you may naturally be drawn toward visualizing them in Cabana, and I'll show what that looks like. If you're collecting actual metrics, not like our JSON blob type metrics, but real time series data of timestamp, name, value, tags, you will probably be storing those in a time series database like Influx or OpenTSDB or a number of others, and then also be kind of naturally propelled towards certain visualization solutions for those. Or you could not do it yourself and pay a service provider to do this for you. There are some choices in metrics and log space. There is not really still a good choice that would give you a unified handling of metrics and logs if you're trying to pay somebody to take care of it. So when we've gotten this data collected, we want to visualize it. And this is what happens. So for time series databases, you'll probably use Grafana as your interface, although there are some other choices. For logs, you'll probably use Cabana. If you're using a third-party solution, they have a specific proprietary UI for that. And let's look at Cabana. So let me preface this with, I don't hate Cabana. There's nothing wrong with Cabana when it's used as intended for what it was built for. It's a great UI for taking a look at your logs. It's great for log exploration. What it's not great for is using it as a production strength analytics solution for all your logs and metrics. It wasn't meant for that, but a surprising number of people do that. I go to friends' places and hey, there is a Cabana dashboard. I know what that is, and that's their solution for operational metrics. So that's an interesting choice, which works for a little while you're small and your requirements are small, but there's no access control for Cabana UI. So it's everybody gets read-write access to the same dashboards. You can very easily step all over somebody's work. There is no math, time series math calculator. There's just some built-in statistics, and that's all you get. There's a number of other things that are missing from this. Grafana has some of those, but it doesn't handle logs. It's just metrics, so you have to make your choices. Cabana works for some people who, like us, put metrics inside your logs because subdog. And this is what it looks like if you try to export to code from Cabana, because, for example, you say, hey, I at least want to back up my charts, put it in Git. Well, this is just a little bit. It actually keeps going and going and going and going because it's this terrible escape JSON stuff. And the URLs are similarly, the URL actually takes up a whole page if I pasted it in because it has all the parameters in it. This is not the kind of code that I'm talking about. As a UI though, it's great. Here's my chart. That's a nice chart. Easy, but unmaintainable. So in my view, analytics is actually code. Whether you know it or not, it can be code hidden behind UIs, code written by someone else, or it can be exposed to you so you can do revision control on it, you can do code reviews, you can organize your visualizations, dashboards into directories that make sense, not a flat structure. You can dry it up and actually reuse code, which would be great. You can maybe even run tests on it. This is still an open question in my mind, how your analytical logic should be tested. Kind of working on that one in my head. And there are people who do analytics as code, but kind of take a completely do-it-yourself approach to it with, say, writing custom Spark jobs that would then place the data in SQL, and then you have your SQL queries that then feed into, say, a Node app that's visualizing in high charts, or pandas, taking it into D3. And those are very complex pipelines to manage. And your business logic of your analytics gets split across at least 3 stages with actually different languages and probably different people who know how to do it. So when you want to make a change in this, you go, oh, we want to track this metric differently. We're going to reorganize the schema. Suddenly it's like, how many engineers does it take to screw in this particular light bulb? Because nobody can do it by themselves. So what are the possible unified solutions to this? I've been kind of excited about Jupyter, Apache's notebook solution, but it really natively integrates only with Spark, and everything else is kind of mix and match stuff. And it's a notebook. They talk about dashboarding solutions that might be coming down the line, but not there yet. And then there is Juttle, which is something we did at my prior project, and it's in the open source. This is what Juttle looks like. It unifies the reading data from the source, in this case from Elasticsearch, doing transformations on it, your percentiles, sum, averages, whatever, and custom reducers. There's a lot of power and flexibility to the language, so you can define your own computations on the data. And the visualizations library is also integrated, so it's as simple as this: read, reduce, view on a time chart, done. For what it's worth, here's a dashboard done in Juttle. So this is kind of a complicated recreation of another dashboard that we have in Cabana. So the code for it looks equally complex, and I don't have time in this talk to go through it. Plus, this whole bit is not dried up at all because our metric schema is not perfect yet. So it should really be a 40-line piece of code powering that entire dashboard. So Juttle can read from many different sources, time series databases, and Elasticsearch, and SQL, and HTTP endpoints and files and whatever have you. It runs as a Node.js process. You can join multiple data sources and process them together. It does handle alerting. Instead of sending the output to a visualization, you can send it to Slack or PagerDuty. So I encourage you guys to check it out and see what you think of the open source project. As a disclaimer, the company behind it is no longer in business, so I work for Quid, and we are using this for some specific cases. Juttle as a language, as a solution, was in production for over a year, so this is pretty battle tested, but the open source packaging is newer than that, so there are some rough edges around it. And it would be great to get this community maintained because it's a great tool. We won't be looking at that just in the interest of time. What I want to cover is, what if you don't want to do it yourself and learn a new language and kind of code up your analytics from the ground up? What are the better choices that still give you the option to treat your analytics as code? Datadog is one that I found to be better than the others, because you get the UI, you get the visual builder, but you also export the definitions of charts and dashboards to JSON that's pretty readable with this little kind of DSL language here. And unlike Cabana's export, this is something that you can put up for code review. You can actually make out the logic behind what you're doing here, and you can pretty easily copy and modify, and that whole code reuse part works. You do need to send your data to Datadog. There's no on-prem solution unless you're huge, and then maybe they'll talk to you about a custom build thing. And there is no handling of logs, but they do handle events and overlay events on metric time series charts. So this is something that we're exploring, and it's looking pretty good as an option. Other players that I've looked at do not provide anything similar to this. There's no export to code. It's just point-and-click UIs. So, Datadog right now is a contender. And so this is what our pipeline for logs and metrics would look like if we went with Datadog. It would replace New Relic for us and handle the custom metrics and events from our applications through Logstash, either through Logstash or directly by posting to their API, and cover the host and service level metrics as well. We would still keep the Logstash bit that forks off to the business analytics line, because that's working really well and makes sense. We may still keep Cabana for just having raw logs for debugging, since Datadog is not a logging solution. And we'll get at least some ability to track code-based analytics. It's not Juttle, but it's a reasonable thing. And just in closing, what the future holds for us? Well, this kind of blast from the past future. Over a year ago, the maker of Grafana made a statement that at some point in the coming 1 to 3 years, log analytics and metrics analytics and visualization will be solved by the same piece of software. Well, it's not. We're a year and a half into that prediction. I'm still waiting for that piece of software that will do everything the way I want to. Meanwhile, you can try Juttle, or you can tell me about what solutions you guys are using. I'm always on the lookout for what's out there. Thank you. Yes?
Hi. What is your thought on Zeppelin, Apache Drill, and Cabana? Because they also try to address this from a different perspective. For example, Apache Drill can go against all kind of data sources, your Hadoop, NoSQL, relational SQL, JSON, Parquet file formats. So creating like an abstraction for all your SQL related queries. And once you have it in a SQL format, there are tons of BI tools available. You can just plug in via JDBC or DBC and connect to any kind of data source. So that is one. And Zeppelin, pretty much similar like Jupyter, but has interpreters with n number of languages and n number of underlying data sources. So what are your thoughts on those?
So SQL, in my mind, is not the optimal solution for handling time series data. It just gets really clunky when you try to express time series calculations through SQL. Just heard a talk from, what was their name? The SQL variant with time series support guys. And it's interesting, but it gets clunky. Just the expression of it is not native to the problem. Otherwise, I've looked at Zeppelin, and the part that seems attractive for a business is to get all the integrations where you get host metrics and service metrics coming in, and you don't need to do anything. So that's what providers like Datadog and New Relic and Sematext and a bunch of others get you. So this is where my interests lie right now, just through the needs of the business. We can't afford to build everything from scratch, doing it ourselves, even if we find kind of a solution that expresses it well enough. And once that monitoring part is solved by somebody else, then building on top of it doesn't make sense. Then it's easier to go with the solution that's provided with your monitoring. So that's where I stand for the moment.
And is this only more for the logs, or is it pretty much all kind of data sources?
Juttle supports logs and metrics. It's got math and it's got search. So take a look. Sure. Oops. You didn't want me to unplug that, huh?